Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Today, you're being manipulated every single day. And most of you don't even see it happening. They've got you chasing things that don't matter. They've got you doubting your own worth. They've got you believing that where you are right now is all you'll ever be. That's manipulation. Every single day, without you even realizing it, there's a system working around the clock to control the way you think. It's not loud, it's not obvious, but it's powerful. It starts the moment you wake up and grab your phone. The first thing you see is not your own thoughts, it's somebody else's message, carefully designed to shape your mood, your opinions, before you've even had your morning coffee, they've already planted seeds in your mind. And if you're not aware, those seeds grow roots. The news you watch, the posts you scroll through, the conversations you overhear, all of it is shaping you little by little, day by day. It bends your thoughts until you can't tell the difference between what's truly yours and what was planted there by someone else. Society has mastered the art of invisible control. It tells you what success looks like, what beauty looks like, what happiness should feel like. And because everyone around you is following the same script, you start believing it's the only truth. If you don't fit into their box, they make you feel like you're failing, but here's the catch. The box was never designed for your greatness. It was designed to keep you small, manageable, predictable. They don't want thinkers, they want followers. They don't want creators, they want consumers. So they flood your world with distractions, endless entertainment, constant drama, cheap pleasures, all to keep you so busy, so tired, so numb, that you never stop and ask, is this really me? Is this really what I want from my life? Even your fears are manufactured. Think about it. The media thrives on fear because fear makes you easy to control. If they keep you scared of failure, scared of rejection, scared of standing out, you'll stay exactly where they want you, safe, quiet, and under control. Fear keeps you from chasing your dreams. It keeps you locked in jobs you hate, relationships that drain you, and lifestyles that shrink your spirit. And the worst part, they make you think it's your own choice. That's the genius of manipulation, making the victim believe they're in control while they pull every string behind the scenes. Look at how they use comparison to control you. Social media is a never-ending competition where you are always one step behind. Someone else is always richer, prettier, more successful, more loved. And no matter how hard you try, you feel like you're losing. That feeling of inadequacy isn't an accident, it's by design. Because when you feel less, you buy more. When you feel small, you chase after things that promise to make you feel big. New clothes, new gadgets, new status symbols. They sell you a solution to a problem they created in the first place. Even your dreams, the things you think you want, are often implanted. Society hands you a checklist. Get a degree, get a job, get a house, get married, and then what? Retire and hope you finally get to live? And if you dare to dream bigger, if you dare to step outside their plan, they call you crazy, unrealistic, irresponsible. They laugh at dreamers because dreamers are dangerous. Dreamers can't be controlled. Dreamers inspire others to break free, and that threatens the whole system. The truth is, most people spend their entire lives trapped in this invisible prison, never questioning the walls around them. They mistake comfort for freedom, routine for purpose, and noise for truth. And the more they stay plugged into this machine, the deeper the programming goes. The longer you let society dictate your worth, the harder it becomes to hear your own voice. That's why so many people feel lost, anxious, and unfulfilled, because deep down their soul knows they were meant for more, but their mind has been hijacked. So while you go through your day thinking you're making your own choices, understand that every billboard, every commercial, every headline, every trend is a carefully crafted message aimed at steering your thoughts and actions. And unless you wake up to that fact, unless you start guarding your mind like your life depends on it, because it does, you will continue to dance to their tune without even knowing you're being played. Most people don't realize that the environment they live in is quietly stealing their dreams. It doesn't always shout at you, it whispers. It whispers doubt every time you mention a big idea. It whispers fear every time you want to step out of line. And before you know it, those whispers become your truth. You grow up surrounded by people who have accepted average as the standard, and they pass that belief on to you without even meaning to. They'll tell you they're just being realistic, they're just protecting you from disappointment. But what they're really doing is handing you their limitations and calling it wisdom. And if you're not strong enough, you take it. You wear their fear like it's your own, and you shrink your dreams to make them feel comfortable. Every time you say you want more out of life, watch how quickly negativity shows up. Friends will say you changed, family will warn you about failing, coworkers will roll their eyes when you talk about success. That's not an accident. The environment is designed to keep you in check, because when you aim higher, it exposes their choice to stay low. And instead of rising with you, most people will try to pull you back down. It's like crabs in a bucket. One starts to climb out and the rest pull it back in. Not because they hate you, but because your ambition makes them confront their own lack of action. Your courage shines a light on their fear, and they don't want to see that. Look around and you'll see how the world conditions you to settle. Schools teach you to follow rules, not to create your own path. Jobs train you to work hard enough to survive, but never hard enough to break free. Even the media glorifies struggle, making it seem noble to suffer in silence instead of fighting for more. And the people around you, they reinforce this message every day. They joke about dreams being impossible. They celebrate small wins like they're the peak of life, and they look at anyone who dares to dream bigger like they're foolish. And if you're not careful, that energy seeps into your spirit. You start doubting your own potential. You start believing that maybe they're right. Maybe you should just be grateful for what you have and stop wanting more. That's how dreams die. Not with a loud crash, but with a slow surrender. Negative environments feed on your insecurity. They make you question your worth, your vision, your purpose. They remind you of your past failures. They magnify your flaws and they downplay your strengths. And the more you listen, the smaller you become. Your big dreams start to feel like childish fantasies. And you convince yourself that playing it safe is the smart choice. But the truth is, playing it safe is the most dangerous thing you can do, because every day you stay in that negative space, you lose a piece of yourself. You lose a little bit of that fire, that hunger, that belief that you were made for something greater. It's not just about people either. It's the whole environment, the books you read or don't read, the conversations you have, the goals you set, the standards you accept. Every bit of it shapes your reality. And if your environment is filled with negativity, you can't grow, no matter how much potential you have. It's like planting a seed in poison soil. It doesn't matter how powerful that seed is, it won't thrive in the wrong ground. The harsh reality is if you stay in a negative environment long enough, you start to think it's normal. Struggle feels normal. Settling feels normal. Doubting yourself feels normal. And when real opportunity shows up, you reject it because your mind has been trained to expect less. That's how powerful your environment is. It programs your expectations, and your expectations shape your life. So if you want to dream big, if you want to rise, you can't ignore the environment you're in, because no matter how strong you are, if you stay surrounded by negativity, it will wear you down until you forget who you really are. Everywhere you turn, you hear the same stories about failure. People love to talk about how they tried and didn't make it, how they reached for something bigger and fell flat. And at first, it sounds like wisdom, like they're giving you helpful advice so you don't get hurt the way they did. But if you listen closely, you realize those stories aren't there to guide you, they're there to cage you. They repeat failure stories so much that you start to believe success is rare, almost impossible, and reserved for a lucky few. It's a strategy designed to keep you right where you are, safe, average, and no threat to the system that thrives when people settle. The world is full of people who tried once, failed, and then made it their mission to convince others not to even try. They'll tell you about the business that collapsed, the dream that died, the risk that didn't pay off. And the more you hear it, the more it sinks into your subconscious until failure becomes your default expectation. You start approaching opportunities not with hope, but with fear. You begin to see every challenge as a trap, every new path as a dead end. And when you live in that mindset long enough, you stop moving forward. You call it being realistic, but really it's just surrender dressed up to look like wisdom. What they don't tell you is that failure is not the end. It's part of the process. The people who succeed fail just as much, sometimes even more. But they don't make their failure a life sentence. They get up, they learn, they adjust, and they try again. But the stories you hear every day are carefully selected to make you afraid of even starting. They highlight the fall, not the rise. They amplify the pain, not the lesson. Because if they can keep you afraid of failing, they can keep you from growing. And if you don't grow, you stay easy to control, easy to predict, and easy to sell to. Look around and you'll notice that people love to bond over failure. Misery loves company, and failure stories become a comfortable excuse for staying average. You mention a dream and suddenly everyone's got a cousin or a neighbor who tried that and failed. They share those stories like warnings, and the unspoken message is always the same. Don't get too ambitious. Don't reach too high. Stay where it's safe. And if you listen to that noise long enough, your own dreams start to shrink. You begin to lower your goals to match the failures you see around you. And before long, you're living a life that's far below your true potential. But you call it wisdom because everyone else does the same. Even the media plays this game. They glorify overnight success stories so they seem like fairy tales, not realities you can achieve. And when people try and struggle, as everyone does, they quit because their story doesn't match the fantasy. They think, if I'm failing, I must not be meant for this, instead of realizing that failure is the bridge to success, not the barrier. And while they're quitting, the system keeps feeding them more stories of failure, more reasons to stay small, more proof that average is the safest place to be. But the truth is, repeated failure stories are a trap. They create a mindset where fear rules and dreams die quietly. They turn potential champions into spectators who sit on the sidelines watching others live the life they secretly want. And if you don't break free from that cycle, you end up becoming another voice adding to the chorus of fear, passing those same failure stories down to the next person who dares to dream. And the cycle goes on, generation after generation, until someone brave enough says, enough, I will not let other people's failures define my future. I will rise no matter how many times I fall. Everywhere you go, they are selling you comfort like it's the highest prize you can achieve. They wrap it up in shiny packages, advertise it on every screen, and make it sound like the ultimate goal in life is to avoid struggle, avoid pain, avoid effort. They tell you to chase ease, to choose the path that feels good in the moment, and to run from anything that requires discipline, patience, or sacrifice. And most people buy into this lie without even thinking. They believe that a life of comfort is a successful life, when in reality it's the fastest way to kill growth, to destroy potential, and to trap you in a cycle of mediocrity. Look around and you'll see how they've made laziness look attractive. Fast food so you don't have to cook. Quick fixes so you don't have to change. Instant entertainment so you never have to face silence and think. They've made everything so easy that struggle now feels unnatural. People flinch at the first sign of discomfort as if pain means something is wrong, when in fact, pain is often the sign that you're stretching, that you're growing, that you're moving towards something greater. But they've conditioned you to believe that struggle is bad and comfort is good, and that mindset is exactly what keeps you from becoming the person you're meant to be. The system thrives when you choose comfort over growth, because comfortable people are easy to control. They don't question, they don't challenge, they don't rise, they stay exactly where they are, numbing their hunger for more with temporary pleasures. Every time you reach for that quick hit of comfort, whether it's junk food, mindless scrolling, or avoiding hard conversations, you're feeding the machine that wants you weak, distracted, and dependent. They don't want you strong, because strength comes from struggle. They don't want you disciplined, because discipline makes you unstoppable. They want you soft, easy to sell to, easy to entertain, and easy to manage. And the more you choose comfort, the more you lose your edge. Your body gets weaker, your mind gets slower, your spirit gets quieter. You start avoiding challenges, not because you can't handle them, but because you've trained yourself to believe that discomfort is dangerous. And every time you take the easy route, you reinforce that belief until it becomes your identity. You go from being a fighter to being a spectator, watching others rise while you tell yourself that comfort is enough. but deep down, you know it's not. Deep down, there's a voice that remembers your potential, that craves the struggle because it knows that's where real growth happens. The tragedy is that they sell you comfort as freedom, but it's actually a prison. True freedom comes when you master yourself, when you build a discipline to do what's hard, even when you don't feel like it. That's when you break chains, when you take control, when you rise. But the world will never sell you that because it doesn't profit from your strength. It profits from your weakness, from your addiction to ease, from your fear of discomfort. So they keep feeding you more shortcuts, more escapes, more soft lies that sound sweet but steal your future. And every time you choose comfort over growth, you trade long-term success for short-term relief. You delay your dreams to avoid today's pain. You settle for average because greatness asks too much. And if you do it long enough, you forget that you were ever meant for more. You accept less because it feels familiar. And you call it happiness because everyone else does the same. But the truth is, nothing great has ever come from comfort. Every champion, every leader, every success story you admire was built in the fire of struggle, not in the softness of ease. And until you reject the comfort they sell you, you will never unlock the strength that's sleeping inside you. From the time you were a child, they started teaching you not to stand out. Sit still, be quiet. Don't make too much noise. Don't draw too much attention to yourself. Fit in, follow the rules, blend in with the crowd. And at first it sounds harmless, like they're just helping you get along with others. But what they're really doing is programming you to fear your own uniqueness. They make standing out feel dangerous. Like the moment you dare to be different, the world will punish you. And so you learn, little by little, to shrink yourself. You learn to hide your dreams, to lower your voice, to step back when it's time to step forward. You learn to play small, not because you want to, but because the fear of rejection, the fear of judgment, the fear of failure has been planted deep inside you. And once that fear takes root, it controls everything. You start making choices not based on your potential, but on what will make you less noticeable, less controversial, less risky. You say no to opportunities because you're afraid people will laugh if you fail. You hide your talents because you're scared they'll call you arrogant if you shine too brightly. You avoid taking the lead because you don't want the pressure that comes with standing in front. And before you know it, you're living a life that's far beneath your true capacity, trapped not by your actual limitations, but by the invisible prison built from fear. They designed it this way because people who stand out are powerful. People who stand out make others uncomfortable. They challenge the status quo. They force change. And the system doesn't want change. It wants order, predictability, control. So they celebrate conformity and punish individuality. They reward you when you follow the script and shame you when you try to write your own. And because that punishment feels painful, the criticism, the isolation, the ridicule, you start to believe that staying small is safer. That blending in is survival. And that belief is exactly what keeps you from ever tasting the greatness you were born for. Look around and you'll see how fear of standing out has stolen dreams from millions. Talented people who never share their gift because they're afraid of what others will say. Brilliant minds who never speak up because they fear sounding foolish. Leaders who never step forward because they fear being knocked down. And the sad part is, the crowd that mocks you for standing out is the same crowd that secretly wishes they had your courage. But because they didn't dare, they want to make sure you don't either. They want you to stay small so they feel better about their own surrender. And every time you choose to blend in instead of rise up, that fear grows stronger. It gets more comfortable, more familiar, until you can't even tell where your real self ends and the programmed fear begins. You start believing that playing small is your personality, that hiding is just who you are. But deep down, your spirit knows the truth. It knows you are meant to stand out, to shine, to lead, to inspire. That's why you feel restless, anxious, unfulfilled, because your soul is suffocating under the weight of all the fear-based lies you've been told. And the longer you let that fear control you, the more you lose your edge. Your dreams get dimmer, your courage gets weaker, and your life gets smaller. Until one day you wake up and realize you spent years avoiding your own greatness just to make other people comfortable. That's how they keep you small, by making you afraid to be big, by turning your light into a threat instead of a blessing. And until you break that programming, until you decide that your dreams are more important than their opinions, you will stay trapped in a life that was never meant for someone with your potential. They know that if you ever stop and truly focus on your own power, you will become unstoppable. So instead, they feed you distractions every minute of every day. Turn on your phone, and there's another notification, another video, another trending topic that pulls your attention away from what really matters. Scroll long enough, and you forget what you even came for. You started with a dream in your heart, but after hours of mindless content, you're too drained to do anything about it. That's not an accident. That's the plan. Because distracted people are easy to control. They're too busy watching other people live to take charge of their own life. Everywhere you look, the system offers you an escape. Entertainment, gossip, drama, games, endless scrolling, all designed to keep your mind busy but your soul empty. And while you're busy being entertained, your dreams are quietly dying in the background. They sell you distraction like it's harmless fun, but it's a weapon. It steals your time, your energy, your focus, the very things you need to build the life you want. And while you're caught up in the noise, the clock keeps ticking. Days turn into weeks, weeks into years, and before you know it, you spent more time watching other people succeed than working on your own success. They know that real power comes from focus. That when you cut out the noise and lock in on your goals, nothing can stop you. But they can't let that happen. Because a focused person is dangerous to the system. A focused person doesn't buy every product, doesn't fall for every trend, doesn't waste time on every distraction. A focused person becomes independent, strong, unshakable, and that's the last thing they want. So they keep feeding you more shows to binge, more scandals to gossip about, more news to stress over, anything to keep your mind running in circles instead of moving forward. And the more you feed on distractions, the weaker your focus becomes. It's like a muscle, the less you use it, the more it withers. Until one day you can't even sit still and work on your own dreams without feeling restless. You reach for your phone, for a break, for something easier, and just like that, another hour is gone. another piece of your potential wasted. And they want you to think this is normal. They want you to believe that being busy and being productive are the same thing. But deep down, you know the truth. You know that all this noise is drowning out your purpose, making it harder and harder to hear your own voice. And while you're distracted, they're making moves. They're building their empires, securing their power, expanding their reach, because they understand the game. The more you're distracted, the more they win. And the less you focus on your growth, your strength, your mission, the easier it is for them to keep you playing small. So they design everything to steal your attention, because once they have that, they have you. And you don't even realize you've given away your greatest power, your focus, your time, your energy, piece by piece every single day. But the truth is, all the power you need is already inside you. It's your focus that activates it. When you stop letting them pull your strings, when you cut out the noise and lock in on your vision, everything changes. That's when you start moving mountains. That's when you take control. And they fear that day. That's why they will do everything to keep you distracted, to keep you entertained, to keep you chasing things that don't matter. Because the moment you focus, you wake up. And when you wake up, you rise. And when you rise, they can't stop you.